Hey guys, Sublord here, back again with another action figure review, and today we'll be taking a look at the Savage Crucible Wave 1, Series 1, whatever you want to call it, 1, the Lumerians. Today we're going to be taking a look at none other than the man, the myth, the legend himself, Nin Vilimir, brought to us by the fine folks over at Harbinger Studios, who are actually more than fine folks in this instance because they did something that says to me that they give a shit about this line. And that's all I want from these companies when it comes to making figures, making quality figures. I want them to give a shit. And I think the fine folks over at Harbinger Studios, the more than fine folks over at Harbinger Studios, definitely give a shit. So, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, why don't we cut right to the chase and get into the meat and taters of this review and take a look-see at all Nin Vilimir has to offer in terms of accessories, starting off with a pair of claw hands. Pretty standard there. Also have this little potion bottle. Now, he's got ports on the side of his belt for this, but you're probably going to want to heat that up before you try sticking this in there, just so it actually goes in there. And then he's got this dagger here, which almost looks like a dragon wing the way it's sculpted. And then this big ass scimitar type weapon. A little cobra's head on the handle. At least that's what I think that is. But this thing is crazy. That'd make the Prince of Persia jealous. And then he also has a pair of swappable feet right here. Now these feet have the infamous toe joints that everyone's complaining about when this line first came out, and the slightly weaker ankle joints. I don't think they're like loose or anything, they're just not strong enough to support the weight of this guy. And neither the toe joints. There's like no detents in these toe joints. That's probably why they didn't work out. But here's the deal. If I bring Vilimir a little closer here, they swapped the feet. No toe joints, significantly tighter ankle hinges. What more could you possibly ask for from a company, I ask you? Because here's the deal. A few years ago, everyone got this big, gnarly looking horse guy known as the Aquadron, and there was a big issue with his hips, just straight up not moving. Did Four Horsemen replace everyone's hips? No. They put out instructions on how to fix said hips, but, you know, some people's are going to be looser than others. It's not a perfect fix. This is a perfect fix. Bringing in the other Savage Crucible figure I have, the Imperial Sentry. This is the Kickstarter exclusive, painted by friend of the channel, Eric Miller of the Mythic Enablers podcast. Had I known that back when I recorded the review of this guy initially, I would have mentioned that, because Eric Miller's a pretty cool dude. But as you can see, both of these guys stand nice and tall and strong and firm, and, you know, these feet, for lack of a better term, they firmly grasp it. They are solid. They are not going anywhere, because what's more satisfying than standing a figure up and it just stands? Like, I don't know what's more satisfying than, well, maybe sex, but we're not talking about that type of stuff on this channel. So there you go. The feet are solid. They stand. Figures of the year all day, every day, 7 days a week. This is the line people are going to be talking about at the end of the year, folks. They're already talking about it as we speak, but I think these guys are going to be right up there with the best of them. You know, I love Four Horsemen. You know, I love my Mythic Legions and everything, but there's been some loose joints on some of their product as of late, and getting parts replaced isn't exactly the easiest thing. but it can be done if you're a good negotiator, such as myself. But here's the deal. I didn't even have to message Savage Crucible about any of this. It was a widespread issue. They fixed the feat free of charge. That's how it should be. Like, come on, man. That's what I like to see. I think Valorverse did the same thing. I know there was a problem with one of the characters' feet being a little loose because of air bubbles? Air pockets, maybe? I want to say it was like Pandora. One of the females. Eclipse, maybe? And Bobby Vala, being Bobby Vala, went and replaced all the boots. So, you know, that's what you do when a figure doesn't freaking stand. Sphexian Minor, I'm looking at you. So, with that being said, that's all we got for accessories. That's all I got for comparisons as far as Savage Crucible goes. We'll break out the 2 regulars before final thoughts. But yeah, man, I need more of these. I need a lot more of these. Thankfully, I was smart and pre-ordered the Lovecraftian, deep ones and Cthulhians direct from the Kickstarter, so I'll be taking a look-see at them at some point. But why don't we take a closer look at Nin Vilimir here, because he looks like some kind of gnarly T-Rex in the face. He's got spikes all over. This thing pricks your fingers, too. Like, these are not, like, dull, these spikes. These are sharp spikes. These are going to prick your fingers. But I wouldn't have it any other way, man. He looks sick. He's got the jaw hinge. He can open his mouth pretty wide. And expose that gaping maw there. He's got some nice tilts, some rotation there. Some up and down that's not terrible. Could be a little better. I feel like every time I make his head look up, I'll pop the head off. Which is not a bad thing. It's just he lacks a little bit of range in that regard. But there's plenty in there. And you can pretty much do whatever you want. The shoulders will go out to the side. Pretty much 90 degrees if you work with the pauldrons. Which are on like little ball pegs. They're on little ball pegs. They will move up, down. They'll flare out a little bit. I know this side was a little stuck on mine, but it does work fine now. But the arms will also rotate, of course. And with that, he also has that butterfly joint. That's pretty solid on these guys. I haven't had any problems with that. They don't move back a ton. I thought they moved further back. They move back a little bit. Move back a little bit. I could just be getting in at the wrong angle, but they do move forward. So that's going to help you with the two-handed sword poses. But I thought they moved further back. I guess not. They move back enough to give him a little bit more tough anatomy, I guess. He does have like the NECA-style arms. So he's got this floaty bicep cap here. And then he does have double elbow. That works just fine. He's got a swivel in the gauntlet as well. So you can pose that however you want. It's because these guys are modular. That's why their joints are built the way they are. I can respect that. That's the aesthetic they're going for. And it doesn't look terrible. I think they do the NECA joints better than NECA, actually. His wrists are on the appropriate hinges for holding weapons, which is awesome. And then they do rotate. And then let me just show you why ab crunches should be obsolete nowadays. Here's why. Crazy crunch for it. Look at that. Perfect 90-degree split. Or 90-degree bend there. Perfect 90-degree bend back. Now I will say, his torso is not as tight as the Imperial Sentries, I don't think. But that's okay. It's not loose. Like, it's not egregiously loose. It's just not as tight as the other one. I don't think, anyways. I haven't messed with the Sentry too much. His waist, on the other hand, is pretty solid. It works, but it is very tight in there. And you do get a little extra bend out of that. So you can bend that far back. This far forward. You got to worry about this belt buckle piece, which, by the way, this does pop off very easily. I'll leave that off so we can look at his legs. But tons of range in the torso. And then, of course, you get the tilt on top of that. Like 90-degree tilt out of this torso. That's freaking nuts. It's so simple of a construction, but so effective. It's not even funny. His tail is segmented with ball joints, just like the Imperial Sentry's was. So he's got a ball joint here, ball joint here, ball joint here, and then he's got a disc hinge up here. Carefully, you don't pop it out, but it does get pretty good bend. You can curve it like that. I'll leave it up for the time being because his hips, they can kick forward all the way and kick back a little bit and kick out to the side. Perfect split. I'll be at the belt, a little bit in the way there. He does have a thigh cut built up into the ball socket here. So that works just fine. And then the double knee on this guy at least is tighter than a motherfucker. But it does work. You get a lot of bend out of it. And depending on where you bend it first, you'll probably be able to get a little more. So there you go. I had to heat the knees on this guy. I didn't have to do that on the Sentry. You can hear that crack, right? So, you know, be wary with the knees. You might need to heat them up, but I didn't on one figure, did on the other, and after I heated it once, it worked fine. This knee is a little tighter even. The top knee, I didn't have to heat the bottom when I did. So, you know, be mindful of that. Don't break your toys. And then he does have the ball hinge ankles. So they will rotate. And he's got the hinge. Which, of course, is a lot tighter than the other feet. Without being too tight. And then he does have the really solid ankle rocker. And peg holes at the bottom of the feet. So, yeah, what else can you say about this freaking line, dude? Like, this figure is amazing. Yeah, I know I say figure of the year a lot, but this is definitely, like, top 5, maybe? I have no idea, but he's up there. If he's not top 5, he's, like, number 6. Like, there is no way he is not cracking my top figures video. Again, I don't know when I'm going to get around to that, but you could definitely bet your sweet candy asses that this Nin Vilimir figure is going to be on there. Because while I love my Imperial Sentry, I really do, I think he came with better accessories, came with more weapons, but he might have cost more. He might have cost more, and the Kickstarter exclusive always going to be a little bit more special than a standard release. You know, I've gotten a couple of Kickstarter exclusives in my lifetime, so you know they usually tend to come with a little tiny bit more. The company's a little bit more generous when it comes to those, but friggin' Nin Vilimir here, this figure is badass. This thing is freaking sick. He's like a T-Rex, man, but he's not. He's covered in spikes that prick my fingers, and I don't know, I have some sort of weird satisfaction with that because I collected Spawn figures back in the day, and those had tons of sharp pointy bits that pricked my fingers, so maybe it's giving me some sort of weird nostalgia. I don't tend to use that word, I think it's overused, but either way, this figure's awesome, is great, the quality is by far some of the best I've ever messed with when it comes to a figure. it like knocks the dog shit out of those Animal Warriors of the Kingdom figures everyone's ranting and raving about. I don't get why those are so, I don't know, held on this pedestal, or like placed on this pedestal and held in such high regard. Like, these are so much better in every way. It's not even funny. So before we wrap this thing up, before my lips start getting chapped, here is Nin Vilimir with our two regulars, the Mythic Legion's Brother Mandibulus, which I know there's a bit of a, I don't know, some kind of beef with people who like Savage Crucible and Mythic Legions. Let's be civil here. We're all adults, right? There's no reason for any of that. And we also got the 11 Spawn, who is a little bit taller than Nin Vilimir. I'm a little surprised, because these are not like 1/12 scale, like true and true. These are a little bigger. I'd say closer to the Marvel Legends 1/12 scale. But at any rate, with that being said, it is time now that we move right along and wrap things up with some final thoughts. Overall, and if you haven't been able to figure it out by now, figure of the year. But not my number one figure of the year, but nevertheless, good old Nin Vilimir here from ye old Savage Crucible is definitely one of the top contenders for top action figures of 2024. Definitely, probably top 5 at this rate, because the fine folks over at Harbinger Studios did go the extra mile and replace everyone's feet, whether it was from this most recent in-stock sale or, you know, pre-orders from the Kickstarter and, you know, anything in between then and now, for free. Free of charge, 100%, no extra cost to the consumer, and that is freaking awesome, because first and foremost, screw toe joints, and second, these figures are so much more stable with these new feet. You've seen it with the Imperial Sentry, not only during this video, but also in my unboxing video of good old Nin Vilimir here. So all I'm going to say is Savage Crucible is the action figure line that everyone's going to be talking about by the end of 2025. That is my prediction. People are already talking about it quite a bit now. I think we're only going to be talking about it that much more towards the end of the year. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and until next time, I'll catch you guys later.